Well, I did quite a lot of work with Ben on semantics. We found in class that he was not engaging with anything, and he was getting worse and worse in class. He was taking himself away into the corner of the classroom. He wasn't engaging with things that he wasn't engaging with before, and it was quite a downhill spiral with him, really. So we tried out iPad stuff, we tried out a few other things, and we tried out semantics, and he really got semantics right from the first session in terms of interacting with it and wanting to have a go at it. And we started him off on all the different programs, but he really focused on painting quite a lot. So we used that as the main focus for some work then over about a 5-6 week period, because Ben is quite static and he's quite focused on he's either here or he's there, and he has to get from A to B sort of as fast as he can, and that's it. There's no intermediates. He's always sat quite tight at his work desk, and if he has to work at the whiteboard, then he just walks up to it, roots himself and works, and sits back down again. It's very sort of boom, 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 one after the other. So part of the reason to try this as well was just to get to move a bit more. So I took a few videos of Ben normally, and like you saw there, he's sat with his head bowed, not engaging with people on the whiteboard. He'd just stand there as well. He'd enjoy himself on the yard, but he'd be in the same position every day, and that's an example of him moving from place to place. He'd often just stop and drop, as it were. So we're moving a little bit forward here, but we've got, this is when he's in the IT suite, moving around really well, filling up the whole space as well. So it was really good to get him on this stage of the interaction. And with Ben, he'd often sort of go back and stop again, and you'd have short pauses where he wouldn't do anything, and that's why when I scored him on the Leuven scale, it was every 10 seconds how he was engaging for that 10 seconds, because Ben can be really high for a few minutes and then just shut down for a while. So it was good. You have to sort of see how he was for really short periods of time, because that was a measure of his engagement, really, whether he shut down for the whole minute or whether he was active for 30 seconds and then shut down for 30 seconds. It was that fine line of difference, really. So you wouldn't really be told to do it. You can't tell Ben to do anything, because he won't do it if he doesn't want to do it. And that was certainly the case with this. I think it was a bit of encouragement, a bit of showing him what he could do with it, but he would do it when he was ready, and not when he didn't want to. So, and it was nice to work on his choice making as well. He knew which one was painting, and he'd always choose the icon. Sometimes he would choose the other ones if I stopped the session halfway through, but he'd always start off with painting. And sometimes he'd get quite energetic and enthusiastic, and sometimes he'd just slow down his movements and sort of a little hand waves. And it was nice just to work on that and develop it. And this is also at a time when he wasn't engaging with anything. He'd come in the classroom. Sometimes he'd go into the common room and sit there all day, and he'd push everybody away. He wouldn't eat his lunch. He wouldn't go out in the yard. He wouldn't really go to the toilet. He had to be prompted to do that. He'd grab people, pull them, tug their clothes just to get them away from him. So this was an opportunity for him just to have his own space, have his enjoyment. And it's really important to put it in that context, I think, that, spending all day in a common room, I think it was May time, it was boiling hot as well. He'd just sit there. He would eventually had his lunch sat outside of the common room, but that took us weeks to get that. But you showed him a card of this, and he'd be out there like a whippet, and he'd just go straight past you, straight in here, and away from me to switch it on, and then oh, what do you want, Ben? And he'd choose painting, painting, and it was just really good. And it didn't solve all of his problems. Like I said, his behaviour still got worse, and now he's 2 to 1, whereas before he wasn't. He didn't have any staff with him, but it was just nice to get something that he really enjoyed and still continues to enjoy. So we're looking to increase that as he moves up as well through the schools. It was a really bad time for him. He did go. I think it was after the Easter holidays. Before the Easter, he used to come sit at his desk like that, and he'd interact if you asked him to. But then after Easter, he just came in, dropped his coat into the common room, and stayed there pretty much until we broke up for the summer. And then after the summer, he came back. He went straight back into that into my common room, even though he'd moved classrooms. Took us about 2 weeks to get him out of that classroom into that classroom. 2 weeks of quite intense sort of intense interaction with him, just to say no Ben. He'd go there for a few seconds, then come back. And then when he was ready, he'd go there on his own. Because when he knew that was his classroom and he was okay there, he was quite safe. But he spent the last 6 months of that time in the corridors, putting down displays, grabbing everybody who walks past him. It's only now that he's in classroom for sort of short periods, interacting with the staff and the kids and everything. So it's really difficult with Ben, because like I said, he won't do anything he doesn't want to do, and you can't make him do it. There's no way you make him do it. He's just, stubborn's not the word. He's just, no, I don't want to do that, so we're not going to do it. And then you can't make him, because he just won't be coyed. He won't be bought off. There's nothing particular he likes. He likes semantics, but you couldn't say to him, do this work and then semantics. He just go, no, I'll just have the semantics sort of thing. He won't be bought like that. It's just, I'll do it or he won't do it. And same at home as well. He'd go up in his bedroom and just sit in his room, sit behind the door, block his mother out. Just want to sit there all day, picking his clothes.